Welcome to the next episode of the Any Spartan Show. It has been a while. We have been terrible podcast hosts, but we're back. We have a new show for you. Josh, Sandy, and myself, we catch up on all the races we have been to, and all the races coming up. Enjoy the show. Do you know what episode we're on, Josh?
75.
Woohoo!
Woo,
Welcome to episode
of a century.
75 of the Any Spartan Show.
And at the rate we're going, it'll be 2028 before we get to 100.
It has been a while. It has been a while, hasn't it?
2 months.
The summer got away from us, I think.
It did. Well, I can't say I did a lot of races because I didn't do any races. Because the two big ones I wanted to do were Savage and Shale Hell. And Shale Hell, I was single-parent duty at home. And Savage, I had a sick kid and was single-parent duty at home. So neither of them happened for me. Womp womp.
Womp womp.
But Ragnar was our last episode, and you guys have been busy. And Josh, do you want to tell the story of why you're in a boot and how many Spartans you did?
I believe those two things are related. So I did... When was our last show? Mid-May?
Maybe.
We had Desiree and Roxy on.
11th, 12th, 13th, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Okay, so since then, and this will lead into my story about wearing the boot. May 13th, Boston Spartan Sprint. May 19th, Austin Spartan Super. May 26th, Montreal Spartan Sprint. May 27th, Montreal Spartan Super. June 2nd, Ohio Beast. June 23rd, Spartan Super. July 14th, Palmerton Super.
I am spotting a theme.
One, I didn't actually even end up running the Palmerton Super. Two, there was also a 50K ultra trail race in there as well.
Okay.
So,
okay,
maybe I overdid it.
You think?
You think?
Because...
when was your first hint that you might have overdone it, Josh?
Well, it was about mile 8 in the half marathon. So mile 8 in the half marathon that I ran a week and a half ago.
Uh-huh.
So after all those races, running on trails, 50K on trails, beasts, supers, mountains, love it. The 50K that I ran the vegan power 50K, by the way. I could probably spend a whole episode talking about that, so maybe we'll reserve that for the next one. But I absolutely loved running 50K distance ultras with no obstacles.
Uh-huh.
More on that another time.
Okay.
That being said, I then turned around and ran a road half marathon a week and a half ago and stress fractured my tibia. I didn't trip. I didn't step on a manhole cover. I didn't get cut off by a squirrel and fall into the bushes. My leg literally just fractured as I was running on pavement, which to me is a sign you should never run on pavement because it's the worst. So I'm only going to do it once a year from now on, and that's going to be during Ragnar. And two, maybe doing so many races when you're getting older is not a great idea.
Says the youngest one of the three of us.
Right. But,
yeah.
So and if you know me, I never take myself to a doctor. If there's a problem, I'll either just gut it out or somebody else will say, you should probably go to a doctor.
Yeah.
I walked across the half marathon finish line and I fell to the ground and I was like, my ankle is effed. And as I walked the last 5 miles, and again, maybe not the smartest idea to finish, but whatever.
You got to get a medal.
You got to get a medal, right?
Right.
So,
duh.
Walked across the finish line, fell down, could not walk. Later that day, I was like, I got to go to a doctor. There's a difference between a soreness and a structural problem, which is what I knew I had because I was not walking anywhere. So went to the doctor that night. They took some x-rays. They said, you should see an orthopedic. Saw an orthopedic Tuesday morning. They're like, you're getting the boot. So I got this stupid boot on my right foot that you can see, whatever, on my Instagram or everywhere else. And I you'll have to ask Molly, but I walked out of the doctor's office and I looked at her and I was like, are you effing kidding me? Because so the prognosis essentially is it's either a stress fracture or something they call a stress reaction, which is your bone becomes very brittle in a spot and you get a lot of blood gathered up there and you get pain points where it is. So she goes 4 to 6 weeks, no activity whatsoever. And I said, okay, let me tell you what I'm going to do.
No activity.
So she goes, no running, no walking of any kind. When you're resting, your foot is up, iced.
Wait, no walking, but you're in a boot.
I'm in a boot. I mean, let's be honest, you have to walk, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in the boot. So
you're not
anytime
on crutches too.
She had suggested crutches, but I said no. Can you imagine a 6'4" guy swinging crutches around? It would just be a hazard to everybody. So she's like 4 to 6 weeks, no running, minimize your walking. And she goes, now I told you no running. That does not mean go get on a bike or go get on an elliptical. None of those.
She's dealt with people like you before.
Absolutely. So I said, okay, I know you just gave me a whole lot of instructions to follow. I said, but let me tell you what I'm going to do. On July 24th, I'm flying to Utah for 8 days of hiking in the mountains of Zion National Park and everything else. And she goes, just bring the bloody boot with you and wear it when you can.
Oh, my goodness. Now, when are you going to that?
Next Tuesday night, we fly out the 20th.
Oh, so that's 2 weeks. Two and a half weeks.
And how many weeks did she tell you to wear the boot?
4 to 6.
Yeah.
So she told me 4 to 6, and I said,
I'm going hiking in 2.
I'll give you half of that.
Going hiking in 2, and she goes, all right, well, you're going to come see me when you get back. And I said, okay, good, because then I've got Ragnar Trail the weekend after that.
You know this isn't a negotiation, right? This isn't like haggling a price.
Then I've got the NORAM Championships the weekend after that. So, and then I might have a Quebec Beast the weekend after that.
Josh,
so,
don't make me come over there and lock you up, because I swear to God I will.
So I told her, I am following instructions as best I can. This boot is on me at all times. I've become an expert at driving with my left foot because it's my right foot. So I'm following the instructions as best I can. It feels great. I am not going to push it. Like, I woke up.
You're not going to push it until 2 weeks into the 4 to 6 week healing period.
True. But I'll wear the boot, like, when we're walking flat areas to see it, but I'm not going to wear the boot up like Angel's Landing.
I'm glad you're going to wear it on the flat bits.
Right. So, needless to say, I'm now suffering through this injury, and it's annoying. But
think of how much more annoying it's going to be if you have to go into a full cast and crutches.
I know. That would be... Well, let's not talk about it.
Paul, I hear and I told you so coming in about a month from now.
I'm making a note.
You want the over or the under?
I'm definitely calling it's going to happen sooner than a month.
Don't worry, because with our current trend, we won't have an episode to record for 2 weeks.
That will warrant a very special episode, I think.
Oh,
so dear listeners, if you are following Josh on Instagram and you see the boot turn into a cast, let us know, because we will
point at him and laugh.
Yeah. Oh, Josh.
Such love you get.
So how's your summer, Sandy?
So Sandy,
I actually am following doctor's orders because
how
I
is
don't
your
want to
back,
end with
Sandy? Because I think
much more. I had an appointment with the spinal specialist this morning. He gave me the all clear. I do not have a follow-up. I can resume everything as tolerated and just keep going with it. He's very pleased with how things are going because I've actually listened and done what I was supposed to do, which means it's going to be way faster than it would have been otherwise. So I have done some stuff. I did get cleared a month or so ago, a little more than that, to jog as tolerated, like I said. I found out very quickly that it's not tolerated very well at all. So I did do a little bit of jogging, but mostly I've been walking, which is perfectly fine. I went and did a new one to me, but they're in their 5th or 6th or something year. It's called the Dynamic Dirt Challenge up in Maine.
Yep.
Just outside of Portsmouth, and talk about just a fun family affair. It was great. We've talked about Wasson Pond and how it's very family friendly, lots of stuff for the kids to do. They let younger kids do the race. They've got different levels. Dynamic Dirt was very much the same way.
Very cool.
Very much all about the family, want to get the kids involved. You could go out and run at it hard. You could go and have just fun. So that was really cool, and I'm looking forward to it. Vince and I have already planned on going back again next year. Even if it's up against something else, I'm still going to go do it.
You made it a long weekend, right? You stayed up there.
Oh, yeah, and it was great.
Portsmouth,
so
Maine.
we went into Portsmouth and went into Freeport for just a little bit. Did just a small amount of shopping because that's not what I want to spend my weekend doing, but did do a little bit of stuff. And for those of you that follow me, I found an Alaska license plate and a Hawaii license plate, both in Maine on the same day.
Wow.
So there's a handful of people who know what that game is all about. I just look for different license plates, and I'm trying to find all 50 states. So anyway, Hawaii and Alaska I never see, and both of them on the same day up in Maine.
There you go.
One on the highway and one in the LL Bean parking lot. It was pretty cool. So that was a lot of fun. If you get a chance to do it, you want something, it's not difficult. It's not one of those going to kill you testosterone-based races. If you want something that's just pure fun, definitely come do it. I was the lone Spartan up there, I believe, and I'd love to have a little bit bigger team up there next year. And then after that, we had the Tough Mudder in what they were calling Boston in Charlton at 508. And I found out that I thought 508 had been there for a long time. It's only a year old.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that it was brand new.
No, they popped up like a year ago, yeah.
Pardon me, I thought it was just something that had been there a long time. So that was
Hadn't
different.
it been there as a motocross track or something before?
Well, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
Right, but I thought it had been around
I think the
as a
508
motocross.
branding is new.
Okay.
But the park itself had been there before.
Maybe that's where my confusion came in.
Yeah.
Because I thought that the whole thing had been there for a while. So maybe they're under new ownership or something like that.
Yeah.
But I walked one lap of the Tough Mudder. I was supposed to go back on Sunday, and I was so beat up after Saturday, I just called it. I was like, nope, not happening. I'm going to do something stupid and get hurt, and not worth it. But overnight, they had the toughest, the eastern portion of the toughest. And you want to talk about a blast.
So toughest was the 8-hour overnight one?
Yep.
Okay.
Started at midnight, ran till 8 a.m., and racers actually had until 8:30 to finish a final lap. So there was the half an hour grace period. You had to have started your final lap by X time, and you just had to finish by 8:30. Talk about a great time. It wasn't super cold, although people were very cold because they were wet. I was dry, but I was out in just a t-shirt and long pants, and I was quite comfortable. But the toughest turned out to be the most fun volunteering I think I've ever had. I was on an obstacle called the Stacks. And the Stacks was 3 cargo containers. You climbed up the first one, you walked the length of it. You climbed up a second one, you walked the length of it. You climbed up a third one, you walked the length of it. And then you went down a ladder to the second one and then down a cargo net back to the ground level. So I got to spend the first hour and a half telling people this obstacle isn't open yet. So it didn't open until 1:30 a.m. Then I had to spend the second hour because some moron, you know why they put notices, don't use your blow dryer in the shower? It's because some fool tried to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't eat Tide Pods.
Yeah. So, anyway, some fool decided that they were going to try to jump off of the cargo net into just a mound of wood chips. There was no water or anything. And luckily, the Tough Mudder volunteer coordinator, her base was right at the bottom of the obstacle, so she had to listen to me all night long yelling at people. Anyway, they saw the person and were like, no, don't do that. So I had to spend an hour telling people, don't try and jump. off of 20 feet high.
Wait, where did he jump from? The top of the third container?
No, went down the ladder to the second, wanted to jump off the second. They didn't jump.
Oh, okay, good.
They stopped him in time.
Good
but
God.
somebody tried to. She said a couple people tried to. And I was
People
like,
are
okay.
idiots.
So she said, you need to make sure that people know not to jump. So that was my second hour. After that, somebody told me a joke. How do you find Will Smith in the snow?
Go on.
You look for the Fresh Prince. Which got a good chuckle out of all the people nearby who heard it. And I thought, that's perfect. I can keep people entertained by just telling this joke over and over and over. And then luckily, people started telling me more jokes and more jokes. So I spent the whole rest of the night until 8:30 in the morning telling jokes to every person who came through the obstacle. And I must have repeated the same dozen jokes 50 times.
That poor volunteer coordinator.
But no. Oh, so about halfway through the night, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, she came up and she said, "Oh my God, we are having so much fun listening to you." She said, "You have to do this on video so I can record it." So my whole goal was just to take a little bit of the misery away, the coldness, the soreness, the whatnot, and make them forget about it for a couple minutes. So they were all incredibly stupid jokes. None of them are going to win any kind of awards for comedy gold material, but they were just funny, and it was what people needed. And I heard from, had to have been 50 people the next morning. Oh my God, that was exactly what we needed. I did a whole nother lap just so I could hear one more joke. I had a couple people tell me that. So, and even this past weekend at the Tough Mudder, I had a couple other people go, "You were the one up on the stacks." And one guy goes, "Oh my God," and he came over and gave me a big hug, and he said, "You were exactly what I needed." And 3 or 4 people said, "You are volunteering at World's Toughest, right?" And I said, "Well, I'm scheduled to run World's Toughest, but I am going to smartly defer that. And yes, I'm volunteering at World's Toughest, and I've already started my joke list."
I was going to say, you need a joke book.
Oh, I've already, it's on my phone. It's already going. But we had just more fun, and people had fun telling me jokes, and a couple of them were so funny because there were a couple that I won't repeat on. This is a family-friendly podcast.
Wait,
we say F instead of the real. I'm not going to go there.
We have the explicit tag for a reason, Sandy.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can swear.
It's not a swear. It's just... All right, what the heck? What's the bird of love, guys?
I don't know the real answer to that, let alone the joke answer.
The bird of love is the dove, right?
Okay, fair enough. Yep, the dove.
This, yes. Well, what's the bird of true love?
Go on.
The swallow. I had a couple of guys go, "I don't get it. You're going to have to explain it." I was like, seriously, take a nap. It'll come to you.
Giggity.
So as the evening wore on, it was harder and harder to make people laugh. So the joke
Are we just going to walk right past that pun that you just made?
I thought it was a pretty good one too, Josh.
I
Don't think Sandy got it.
I didn't even hear it.
You said it.
What did I say?
It will come to you.
Oh. I'm
Okay,
so sorry
moving
to
on.
all the podcast listeners that you do not have video because Josh is
It's
currently
bright
popping
red.
a tomato. So anyway, so I've got some good jokes. So if you're doing World's Toughest Mudder, I will be out there somewhere telling really stupid jokes to try
That's
and keep you
hilarious.
entertained for
That's fabulous.
hopefully 24 hours. So anyway, so that's how I spent my toughest. And then I had so much fun that the next morning I was like, well, I'm not running, so I'm here till noon. So I said, what do you want me to do? So I volunteered at the check-in, and then I volunteered at the finish line for a little while, just for the hell of it, because I
Very
wasn't
cool.
ready to go home yet.
Very cool.
So let's see. After that, 24 hours of Shale Hell.
I didn't go.
I know. Shame on you.
So if you didn't catch the news, the 24-hour of Shale Hell this year was the final summer event for Shale Hill. The doors are
Yes.
closing. The grounds are being shut down. There will be one more race, the Polar Bear Challenge in 2019, that everybody listening should go to. But no more training, no more races. Womp,
And
womp.
quick FYI, if you are thinking that you want to go to Polar Bear, you need to not put off registering. They are capping it at 300, and they've had a couple of dozen registrations in the last week alone.
It is worth it. It is the highlight race of the year for a lot of people.
Even if you don't do cold races, do it.
Good God.
If you want to do one lap, do one lap. If you want to do more laps, do more laps. If you miss it, shame on you.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, all the people who say it's too far.
Don't get me started.
I don't want to go. There's nothing around there. This and that. I'm going to be blunt and say you guys are the reason they're closing.
Yep.
Because everybody, when they announced they were closing, 30, 40, 50 people. Oh my gosh, I never got a chance to get there. You've had 6.5 years to get there. You chose not to, and they can no longer stay in business because of that.
And in that 6.5 years, they went to Killington 5 times, and Killington is literally 30 minutes away.
Yes. So I'm going to be the mom and say, shame on you. Yep. If you have not made it to Shale Hill, and you live in a reasonable distance, if you're listening to us from Texas or California or something like that, I am not talking to you. I am talking to the people who will make arrangements to go to Killington.
At last year's Shale Hill. Last year's Polar Bear.
But I'm also not giving them a hard time for not making the chance to get there.
If you're in New England and you give a crap about OCR, you need to be there.
Yeah.
So
that's you too, by the way, Josh.
Trust me, I felt like Sandy was talking to me. Can I offer something to the contrary?
You can, but you'd be wrong.
This is bad podcast coverage, but bear with me just a quick second. Okay, so Polar Bear.
Yes.
8-hour race, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And this is not exclusive to Polar Bear, but, and again, I'm slowly trying to kill time because I cannot web browse quick enough. $150+ for the event.
Yep, which includes all the food you can eat.
That is good, but I don't know. So this is the other thing is, while yes, their course is great, their location is whatever, call it inconvenient if you want to because you don't want to go to Western Vermont, but their prices are not always right either. So I feel like that plays into it. And as much as it's people didn't go because whatever, it didn't have a big name or anything like that, there's other reasons people didn't go, right?
So
and I think these big events...
I'm gonna call you on that one, though.
Okay.
They've got 5 times more obstacles per lap than any Spartan Beast. Each lap is 10k, 6 miles-ish, and they've gone from 40 to 80 obstacles over the years. And we're not talking about a couple of 4-foot walls back-to-back. So when you do a price per obstacle, different ballgame entirely. I'm going to keep going because the Polar Bear Challenge has a full all-day buffet, and it isn't a little bit of snack food. It's a full-on catered breakfast for the first few hours, lunch for the rest of the hours. It's every athlete has full access to the buffet. You can easily put away $40-50 worth of food if you were buying it out of your own pocket. Easily. It's as many laps as you can do, which could be 1, but it could also be 10. They offer...
I think in 8 hours, the most anyone's done is 5.
Yeah, and that was early days when they had much fewer obstacles. They are also... they offer discounts. That we have a standing 15% discount to the team and have had for years. And when you start looking at it priced out like that, you're all of a sudden not that far off what Spartan charged for a beast. And you get 25 obstacles.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could go back and forth on this one all day long.
Absolutely. And clearly the majority of people would prefer to get a Groupon and go and do a Spartan Sprint and then say Shale Hill's too expensive, which is why...
Or spend $249 and get their entire trifecta paid for, and they get to pick whatever venue they're going to. And it's not a Shale Hill versus Spartan thing, but it's also...
It is. It is, because Shale Hill isn't losing out to Tough Mudder. Tough Mudder's a different ballgame. They're losing out to the OCR crowd, and Tough Mudder isn't the same crowd as a Spartan or a NORAM Worlds or an OCR Worlds or whatever. That's a slightly different crowd. So it is anyone who has serious OCR interests is directly competing with Spartan, I would say.
Spartan is the most widespread that they're competing against. They're also competing against, Indian Mud Run and Atomic over Nuclear over in Europe and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, for what you pay. And they did run a bunch of races earlier that were a lot lower priced, but they'd only have 20 people there. Mm-hmm. So they kind of didn't really have a choice but to raise the price if they wanted to put on an event.
So I don't think the prices ever got raised. What they were doing was they charge a higher entry for the 8-hour races. And the single lappers were much, much cheaper, and we have lost Josh. So, Sandy, it's just you and me.
Oh. I'm sure he'll come back in.
I'm sure he will. We'll see if we can get him back on. But anyway.
So, I sound bitter about it, and that's probably because I am.
I'm in the same boat.
It's the best place I've ever been, and I have such a hard time knowing that they're going out of business.
Yep. And why.
And whatnot. So, and why, yeah.
Yeah.
And I really am talking to those who will plan on Killington for a whole year and then a half an hour further away with free camping, etc. for the summer races. 24 hours of Shale Hell was a bit more expensive than the Spartan Beast at Killington, but you got 2 nights of camping and you had 24-hour access to this fantastic course that you could either run competitively or run as journeyman.
Yep.
And have fun. So Polar Bear is a huge party also, and you can choose to run competitive or non-competitive. We did have an interesting thing happen at 24 hours of Shale Hell. So first of all, Vince ran.
Whoa.
It's the first obstacle course race he's done in quite a while. And so he and I spent 2 laps together out running around and had a blast. And then I started a 3rd lap and then realized that at 1 o'clock in the morning, I was a little creeped out being out there all by myself. And so I came back and he and I went up on top of the platform at the fireman pole and we stargazed for about an hour.
That's a good place to do it.
Oh my God, you want to talk about gorgeous. All the stars and everything. Anyway, but I'm getting beside the point. But they had 5 guys who started the 24 hours of Shale Hill mandatory obstacle completion.
Whoa.
And I am amazed that anyone would voluntarily do that to themselves. Because as soon as you get to an obstacle that you can't get past, you're done with mandatory obstacle completion.
So did they have the did they have the rules they had last time where you could go back an obstacle?
No, mandatory obstacle completion is mandatory obstacle completion. They don't have a band that they cut off, but you have to complete every obstacle. And I know that when we started, there was a guy, Vince was signed up for the 8 hours. I was signed up for the 24 hours. So he postponed and started with me so that we could go together. And when we got to it, there was a guy who was doing the mandatory obstacle completions who had been at the the Destroyer, almost 45 minutes. And as far as I know, he never got past it.
On his first lap?
On his first lap. So he dropped down to competitive, did the penalties, and so he disqualified himself from the mandatory obstacle completions, and he went on to continue and do more laps, but he was no longer in the running for the mandatory. A couple of the guys who signed up for mandatory obstacle completion had never been to Shale Hill.
That's always the way.
And did not know what they were getting into. One guy came because he had a race. He had the Northman Rig Race.
Yeah.
600 meters. That's what he had been training for. And it was canceled at the last minute. So he went on, OCR buddy, and saw, hey, there's an event at Shale Hill. So he drove 7 hours from north of Toronto. Signed up for it on the spot. Mandatory obstacle completion. Did his first lap and went, holy crap. In the end, he only finished 1 obstacle complete lap.
Yep.
But that was, from what I believe, that was good enough for 3rd place. 1 full lap.
That's a hell of a lot more than most of us could ever do.
Yeah. I've gotten to the point where every obstacle there, I've completed all but 3 of them at least once.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of them I've only done once.
Yep.
But 3 of them I just absolutely, gut check, I'm not even trying. My body is worth more than that. I'm not jumping at that thing no matter what. And then I can't do Tarzan ropes to save my life.
Yep.
And then they have this one setup where it's 2 guardrails, like highway guardrails, and you get up on them with straight arms and you walk using your arms. So kind of like parallel bars.
Mm-hmm.
I did that exactly once and have never been able to do it again.
I wonder if Rob will let us take home some of the wheelbarrows. Or a wheelbarrow.
I already told him, I said, if you end up selling some of these, I want to buy one of these wheelbarrows.
Yeah, I want one of those wheelbarrows.
Yeah.
They are custom made go-kart wheels, tube framed with spikes for weight plates. And they're nuts. We use them for the winter race. They first came out last winter, and I love those things. I just pick them up and off I go. I love them.
I think it would be fine, except for the fact that steel that's been out in sub-zero weather for a while.
That's what gloves are for.
Oh, no, it goes right through your gloves.
Yeah, I was fine.
So I've decided I'm going to buy the silicone mitts. The silicone will keep the cold away and still give me grip.
There you go.
So there's no telling exactly what we're going to be in store for, though, with Polar Bear.
No.
Josh, good grief.
Imagine if you had kids. Jeez.
Rob has some ideas, but we'll see.
We'll see. All
We'll
right.
see what happens.
I'm certainly intending to be there. I've only missed one polar bear, and that's because I was stuck in an airport in South Carolina.
There are only 3 of us that have done all of them.
Yep.
Myself, Bill Root, and Stephen Beckwith.
Yep. I've only missed one.
So.
All right. So be it polar bear.
Vince is doing that one too.
Good God.
Yeah.
So what else you been doing, Sandy?
Savage.
That was last weekend.
Yeah.
You don't want to know what I was
Carter
doing.
and Stevens. I love the people at Carter and Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
I love the food. Vince loves the beer.
Mm-hmm.
But those trails are just so ankle breaky worthy. They're all rutted and insane. And when you have a hurt back, by mile 6.5 or so of 7.2, I was pretty much ready for the finish line to be coming soon.
Yeah.
So.
How did it compare to last year? What was it? How is it different?
Oh, significantly different from last year, because last year it rained and rained and rained and rained and rained beforehand, and we mucked through mud for 3/4 of the course, deep mud for a lot of it. And this year it was fairly dusty, which caused its own set of issues with the dust floating in the air. But the obstacles themselves are great. Savage does a good job. I know they had a lot of flack last year for Wheel World because the dismount off of Wheel World was really far, and it was a slanted plastic sheet back into the water. So this year they added a rope to account for that, which I think was really smart. Pardon me. They had a couple of new obstacles. Holy Sheet, I think, was the name of one of them, where it was a bed sheet, and you grabbed it kind of like a traverse rope, but you only held onto it with your hands. So you went across, so it was strung lengthwise, and you had to grip it and go across it like monkey bars type sort of action.
I must say, my favorite photo from the weekend was Aaron Farb, who had climbed on top of it and was laying in it as if it was a hammock.
Yes.
Top notch.
At the end of the day, on their second lap, so that I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah. He also decided to go face first down the Colossus slide and fly off the end of it.
Of course he did.
Of course, yes. And I proved yet again that I cannot take a jump off of or slide down picture that is anything other than epically hilarious or utterly awful.
I would like to give a shout out here
to of those two.
Shayna Brooks, who now for the second year running has made terrible Colossus slide photos. Nice job, Shayna.
Yep, I could put mine up against Shayna's.
Okay.
And I have a 3-photo progression of me jumping off of Davy Jones' locker, which is nothing more than a platform you jump off. It's probably, 10, 15 feet tall? It's not that hard. I enjoy the obstacle, but you would not think that I like the obstacle based on the faces that I'm making. So,
good.
Oh my! Thankfully, I don't embarrass too badly, because if anybody saw these photos, you would just kind of go, "Oh my God, I feel so much better about myself."
Well, they have already opened registration for 2019. I think it's probably a safe bet that it will be back at Carter and Stevens, because they've got a really good relationship with those guys. And I know
by next year I'll be okay with the rough trails.
Well, let's talk about what's coming up, because we can stick with Carter and Stevens and just slot Savage Race out for Bone Frog. Because Bone Frog
When is that?
Oh,
September 2nd.
Is it September?
9th?
Okay.
September something. So that's a way off.
September.
Okay.
It's another race local event, and it's back at Carter and Stevens. I've had this conversation with Phil, who owns Carter and Stevens, but they run the risk of being the next Amesbury Sports Park, where people just get burnt out of the venue, not for any reason other than they're going there a lot. But I don't know that there's an awful lot of options for races coming in and races trying to expand.
Well, Sandy, how was 508? That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
508 was really good. Very technical, surprisingly technical, and a lot of elevation change.
So,
a
question,
lot
Sandy.
of little hills, but up and down and up and down and up and down. Nothing huge by any stretch.
Just like,
like
a
a
motocross track, like Naked Maniac.
Yeah.
So,
so as I understand it, they were clearing out paths. So I think the reason it was so technical sounded like it was because this is the first time they had carved a lot of those paths out. So maybe it gets easier as time goes by.
Could very well be, but you expect trails to be somewhat technical. So if you consider tough scramblers, for example, to be technical with all the roots and the rocks, this was the same sort of thing. And so I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It just surprised me.
So I now have two questions. So from my understanding, the only real kind of criticism for Tough Mudder there was that they were 5-mile loops. Was that correct?
Yes.
Was that because 508 isn't big enough for 10-mile loops?
No, it's because Tough Mudder, for the most part for this year, I think with the exception, and I hope I have the count right, I think it's 3 venues over the year have full 10-mile courses, but everything else is 2 5-mile loops.
Okay.
And
so that was a brand decision.
Fall into one or the other. You either love it or you hate it. I have yet to hear of anybody who's kind of ambiguous about it.
Okay.
Or ambivalent, I guess is a better word. Most of the people that I've talked to hated it.
Yeah, that's the general consensus I'd seen.
But you go on the Legionnaire page and there are a number of very vocal people who absolutely love it. So you've got both arguments there. I did not like it personally, simply because if you're going to make me do 2 obstacles twice, that's fine. But don't make them the mud mile and the kiss of mud. I don't want to crawl necessarily over and over and over.
Yeah.
It's kind of the whole idea of one of my arguments with Spartans longer races a couple of years back, where it was like, instead of having additional obstacles, it's like, okay, we'll do 3 barbed wire crawls and we'll do 2 spear throws and we'll do 2 sandbag carries. Don't give me more of the same. Give me something different.
Yeah.
And Tough Mudder advertises as 10-mile loop, this many obstacles. Well, you don't really have, quote, that many obstacles if you're doing the same ones 2 and 3 times, or twice, excuse me. And a couple of them were skipped intentionally, and there were a couple of different loops. So there were a few obstacles that were on the second loop that weren't on the first loop, like Arctic Enema, because Arctic Enema isn't a part of the half or the 5K. It's only a part of the full. Block Ness Monster was on both laps. That was the only one I didn't mind being twice.
Yeah.
But, you know, so there's different things to do.
But getting back to the kind of point of venues, so 508 sounds like it might be an up-and-coming option for races coming in. Carter and Stevens is like the full-service, now very experienced race host. Where else can races go? It's been pretty clear over the last few years that ski resorts and mountains don't want them because they don't want them digging.
That's a good question. Although they're going back pardon me, I knocked something over. They're going back to Gunstock this year for Tough Mudder.
Yeah.
Where they were there 4 or 5 years ago.
But they don't get to go very often.
Yeah.
Because they don't want them digging. They want the ground to recover. Like, Wachusett won't take a race. And
right.
There's a lot of conversation about whether Wachusett could handle a race, but I would think they'd be very well suited for a decent 5K OCR if they wanted it. And they don't want to destroy their grounds. They don't want to open trails and have digs.
And that's completely their right
Yeah.
to choose to do.
Yeah.
And Tough Mudder seems to be getting away from some of the dug obstacles. Not all of them.
I think most brands have in the last few years.
I don't know if any of the courses doing King of Swingers this year, for example.
I think a lot of them do. Savage still does a lot of digging, but
they do.
Getting close to being the only ones left. Spartan don't. Tough Mudder are stopping it. And none of the smaller local brands are digging anymore.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, when you look at venues, when you're trying to find a venue near the Boston metropolis area, the northeast region, there's not an awful lot of option left. So that's why when people say, I hate Carter and Stevens, well, you're going to be stuck with it because there's not many other places willing to take them in, willing to put on the infrastructure and capable of putting on the infrastructure.
Right. And Carter and Stevens went really smoothly. We had the busing, and we did ask everyone to please park at the
perfect
the bus area. I know Vince, I had dropped him off because we had tents and all that sort of thing. And he goes, "Are you seriously that you're actually going to go and park?" And I said, "Yes, I absolutely am. I've asked everyone else to. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to park across the street and do that. That's not the way I do things."
And they do a really good job of it anyway.
They did.
Yeah.
That's one thing 508 is going to have to figure out is their parking situation.
Okay.
It was a cluster.
Well, you know what? Talking about that, the Rutland venue that Spartan's using, their parking is a huge cluster as well. The Scout camp that Spartan are using, the last 2 years, their parking's been a horror show.
Okay.
So, not many
even
venues.
The parking for the midnight race was just awful. I ended up having to get out of the car and walk in because even leaving in plenty of time, we would not have been able to park in the parking spot and me to get there at the assigned show-up time.
That sucks. So what else? We got North American Championships coming up in 2 weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Guess where I'll be? A work trip in Kentucky.
Ugh.
I will have access to a workmate's pool house or lake house. So we've taken the family and making it into a long weekend, but it will be a work trip that is holding me away. And I'm just tacking some fun stuff on the other side of it. So I cannot go.
And Josh, you're competing. Are you doing 3K, 15K team and charity again? Or what are you choosing to do?
Oh, I'm not going to show up and not do all of them.
So Josh, you've got this thing on your foot. We talked a little bit about it at the beginning of the call.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I am probably going to make the right decision.
Just reminding you, that's all.
Right. The 3K and the 15K are probably going to turn into walking episodes for me. However, I really want to compete in the team event. So it's me, Molly, and Kevin. I really want to see what we can do in that. So I'm gonna save myself to make sure I'm competitive for that.
Which portion are you doing?
The crutch
probably
portion.
Obstacle.
Okay.
The crutch portion. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm in age group right now. I don't foresee that changing at all, and I never really ran these races to compete because I'm just I don't know if you guys saw my halfway through the year Instagram post talking about my goals that I set for this year. It's occurring to me that I am woefully outmatched for age group competitive in Spartan.
You're in a competitive age group, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably in the most competitive age group, and the 10-year increments proves a hurdle that, one, I don't train hard enough to do it. So let's not say anything else besides I haven't put myself in a position to be successful. And two, I'm next year. I already told myself, especially after this injury, that I'm gonna scale it back. I'm gonna do races like Savage and things that I want to hit. I'm gonna try a couple new races. I want to get up to Canada to try Northman, and then I think the goal is to like spend next year training, and then when I hit 40, which is in 20,
the young
20,
portion of the age group,
right? I will be primed up, and hopefully by that point, maybe Spartan will have come to their senses and done 5-year age groups at that point, or abandoned the whole idea altogether. You never know.
I was going to say, you'd be in a stronger position if it were 10-year age groups with you being 40.
That's true. So, I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to play it by ear, but this year things changed a little ways through the year. But that being said, I did find that I love running ultra distance events. My body doesn't react to them the way that I would like it to. So it's an interesting new dynamic of endurance events for me.
Cool.
So,
all right, well, I'll be at NORAM, but I'm doing the charity race only.
Oh, because you're back?
I'm volunteering for the 3K and the 15K. I would love to do team, but the only one I'm really good at is strength, and that's not a wise idea for me right now.
You hear that, Josh?
Hey, your back is hurt.
Listening.
Let's
She's being
throw
smart.
a 50-pound rec bag on you.
Yep.
So that'll be fun. I want to ask one quick question, what your opinion is. How soon do you think it'll be before they start adding, instead of the 50 plus, they start changing the masters to 60 plus? We've got more and more 60s participating at a very competitive level.
Who, Spartan
specifically? How long it'll take.
Spartan specifically?
No, any.
Anyone.
Spartan, North American champs, world champs, any of the ones that do the main age groups and are competitive.
I think it'll only happen when the numbers show it makes sense for them. So
yeah.
It's not going to be a case of how competitive they are, but it's going to be a case of simply how many of them there are. I think.
Well, it just seems like there's going to be more and more and more.
Yeah.
I know some of the older guys are starting to clamor for it. It's like, hey, I'm 62 and I'm competing against these 50-year-olds, and that's
right.
Kind of crazy.
It's an interesting question. So normally at the end of our episodes, we take questions from the crowd, but seeing as how, one, we didn't ask for any, and two, it's been 2 months since we've done an episode, there is a question out there from a gentleman on Twitter who calls himself at Sailor Bill 1954. And if that sounds familiar, it's because my father's name is Bill and he was born in 1954.
Oh.
So I did not ask him.
What would your dad like to know?
My dad would like to know, as a subject for the podcast, is there a reach out to those nearing retirement? How old is too old to race? And what do we think about using OCR as an alternative to a life of obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, and multiple medications? And lastly, this is a multi-part question for Bill Chase. And we are obviously the experts to speak on this last question.
Very much.
What are our thoughts on using VO2 max as a measure of fitness and vitality?
All right. So what age is too old?
So
I don't think that exists.
My dad would say 66 because that's when he decided he was done falling off obstacles and getting hit by things.
Yeah, but I've seen... I helped a woman up on Tough Mudder on Everest who was turning 84.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A couple of days later. I don't think there is anything such as too old.
Your mileage will
I think
vary.
individual people know their own bodies and their own capabilities. And I think that at a certain point in time, you look at a couple of things and go, probably not wise.
Considering
which we already do based on injury and that sort of thing.
Considering my knee gave out walking down some stairs today, I think 39's a pretty good stopping point, it seems.
That makes sense because I'm leading right up to that birthday.
Yeah,
so
there you go. 39.
So
unanimous decision.
Let me add this. So, and I think the reason my dad asked this is I got an email from him a couple months ago, probably right around the same time we did our last episode. And again, I'm going to make for great podcast audio while I search for this. But essentially it was the forward of his registration for the Spartan Fenway Sprint.
Okay.
And he said, I'm going to be there and I'm going to get the damn medal. And for anybody who knows, he had tried to go 2 years ago and ended up getting stuck at work, and he works on a boat, so he didn't get a chance to go, and he was kind of pissed. But he was training for it. My dad works on a tugboat and a barge, so he was running on the barge. He had an elliptical in the tugboat that he works on. So he's going to be at Fenway this year. One, there's no age limit.
No.
I mean, Molly's dad is in his 60s, and he ran Killington with us last year, and he did it in 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say, he kicked my butt.
So definitely no age limit. And I mean, as far as using it as a catalyst to, I feel like I should probably just have this phone call with my dad instead of answering it on the podcast, but
well, he clearly listens to the podcast.
He definitely does. Using it as an alternative to a lifestyle of diabetes and obesity. I mean, there are stories all day long in every race organization. Yeah. Spartan does big transformation blogs. Tough Mudder does plenty of them, right? We've seen Warrior Dash people that have lost weight and use this as the catalyst to do it. So I think it's whatever reason you need, right? Use that reason. I don't think you need a justification. If you want to go out and exercise because you want to wear a bloody trucker hat that you saw and it looked cool and you need to be slimmer to wear it, then knock yourself out. And the last piece, the VO2 max. I'm going to put this out there because my Apple Watch does tell you this stuff sometimes. Mine tells me. Now, granted,
there we go.
My last run was cut short because I had to walk, but my VO2 max is only like a 44-ish, and I don't think that's good. When I remember looking at Ryan Atkins and Lindsay's VO2 testing, and again, opposite ends of the spectrum. They were like in the mid to high 60s, I think. Right, they're the air up there. They were in like the mid to high 60s, so I guess that means I'm, help me on the math, 60% of the athlete they are, I think is what that means.
Sure. So Sandy, what's your VO2 max?
I don't have a clue.
I'm pretty sure you and I are way in the 80s, right? Must be. Clearly.
No, I think lower is worse. I think higher is better.
Oh, higher is better.
Oh, okay.
Elite athletes like Lance Armstrong are in like the 70s and 80s. That's also because they're blood doping, but whatever. Amazon Prime Day did hook me in for this nice Garmin Vivo Active 3, so maybe this will either help me or tell me more details about how bad my VO2 max is.
Yeah.
I know nothing about VO2 max.
I've never looked. I suspect it's one of those things you only really need to worry about when you're at a certain level, and not many of us are at that level. Is that fair to say?
I would say that's
if
pretty
it's
fair.
one of the parameters that you use to test yourself and compare yourself from, beginning to end and
absolutely.
Steps along the way, I think it can be as valuable as anything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you know what it means, and do you know how to test it properly and that sort of thing? I wouldn't have a clue how to do it. I don't know what it means. None of that. So it wouldn't do me any good. But going back to the second question, I want to say that the reason I do a lot of what I do is because I want to still be physically capable of doing stuff when I'm 70 and 80 years old. I look at 70 and 80-year-old women and I go, that I don't want that to be me. In general, of course, there are exceptions, but I want to still be able to be capable and do stuff when I reach that age. And so what better way to do it than to go out and have a lot of fun with your friends on the weekends?
Yep.
And on that note, should we call it?
No.
I do believe that's it. Uh-oh, Josh's got one more.
Josh.
Not that anybody can go out and get them, but I just have to say the NORAM exclusive New England Spahtens Akuma jerseys.
Yeah.
To take a phrase from like a 17-year-old are hot fire. They're amazing.
Yes.
Is that
also,
what 17-year-olds say these days? Hot fire?
I don't know.
Okay, all right.
I also have gained a few pounds because I bought a large, which is the original blue one that I bought, and this one's a little tighter. So I gotta slim down a little, just a little bit.
We gotta quit with the winter weight group.
We got it.
We have our own little mini ice cream getting group. that
yes.
we do quite often.
And actually, that ice cream group might get a little bigger because there's a couple friends of ours that are moving to right down the street, Sandy.
Yes.
So, no ice cream now. Okay, that's it.
Oh, I'm getting ice cream soon. I just don't know when. But yeah, those new jerseys are sweet. And I thought, okay, so when they came out, I was like, I'm not getting another drill shirt. I'm not getting another drill shirt. And I thought I had 4, or 5. I don't. I have 6.
I have
thought,
7.
okay,
I
the
counted
last
them.
thing I need is another drill shirt. And then I saw the picture of it, and I was like, I am totally getting one of these. So now I have 7.
I had 7. I didn't get one because I had USA on the front.
That makes sense. You should have gotten one and put the English on the back with the
that would have
British
just been
flag.
confusing.
Aw. Well, given the fact that he's not going.
Oh, that too. At that point, I didn't know that. I found that out recently.
But yes, they're absolutely beautiful. And I didn't notice it first, but the sublimated logo in the background of the fabric.
They look awesome.
So nice. I had to get the sleeves because I wanted the stars.
Sublimated, good word.
Well, that's what they are, Josh. They're sublimated.
That's one of those 10-cent words.
I want a full quarter, damn it.
Well, shout out to Akuma. They've looked after us for, 6 years, 7 years, 6 years?
Yep.
I do have to say that when they introduced themselves to you, Paul, with a picture of one of our shirts, that was pretty classic.
Yeah, so Akuma, we've been working with them for 6 or 7 years. We've done hundreds and hundreds of shirts with them, and right after the NORAM, they were announced as the official vendor for NORAM, they sent me an email with a marketing email saying, hey, we'd love to work with your team to design you some really cool shirts. And in the email was a picture of our shirt. And I said,
the only way it could have been any better is if they had sent you a picture of you.
and I said, yeah, well, yeah, that's kind of our shirt. You already are. He apologized. He was sending a bulk.
He was a brand new rep.
It just made me.
So I'm not giving Akuma a hard time. I do find it to be absolutely hilarious,
It was hilarious.
that happened.
All right, guys. I'm going
We
to
should
bed.
call it at this point.
We should do it again
We're
pretty
rambling.
soon.
We should.
Yes, we
Let's give it
should
a
not
week or
wait
two
another
and-
2 months.
No. If we don't record one in a few weeks, shout at us. If you're still listening. Leave
People
us a
were
comment.
shouting at us, and it didn't cause us to go any faster.
I know. If you're still listening, leave us a review, leave us a comment, subscribe in however you get your podcasts, and good night.
Feel free to submit a joke to me for Worlds.
Oh, there you go. Good night, guys.
Good night.
As always, guys, thanks so much for checking out the show. We'd love to hear what you think, so give us some feedback. Submit a question, share a story from one of your recent races or events. I think the show gets better and better with your participation, and it's not just Paul, Sandy, and myself talking. So to reach out, ask questions, suggest a topic, whatever it may be, follow along on Facebook. We've got a dedicated Any Spahtens show page, or you can join the community at Any Spahtens on Facebook as well. Twitter's your thing. Shoot us a tweet at Any Spahtens. And if you want to find our full library of episodes, I'd recommend either iTunes or Stitcher. So again, for Paul, Sandy, myself, thanks so much for listening, and until next time.